Just like flying, no denying. I know we won't be late.
Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I am here in the beautiful Santa Monica, California with my lovely model Riley. Today we are going to be showing you guys 10 mistakes that beginner photographers make. But before we get into the video, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the little bell button so you don't miss any of my future uploads. And come with me and we'll get started.
Won't you give me any warning? I've been thinking about you day and night and day and night.
And mistake number one is lack of preparation. I can't stress enough how important it is to have a mood board for your shoot, know your location. You can either go location scouting before. Sometimes I just go on Google Maps satellite view if I'm not sure of a location, and I'll find a beach. Like this beach here I found because I didn't want to go all the way to Malibu. This one was a little bit closer, but I did want some rocks, so I found this on Google Maps, satellite view, saw what it was going to look like and realized it would work for me, so I didn't actually have to drive out. I use Pinterest to create mood boards. Hair, makeup, wardrobe, props, all those things are also part of the preparation. If you don't have a hairstylist or makeup artist, we didn't today, you can always communicate with your model, let them know what you're looking for, and as long as it's something simple, they can usually do it themselves. And for styling as well, you can either have a stylist or you can bring your own suits, which I usually bring a lot of things myself, and then I have the model bring things as well, and when we get here we decide what we're gonna shoot. Mistake number two is shooting in midday sun. While this can work sometimes, while you're learning, it's best to stick to more favorable lighting conditions. I like to shoot early in the morning, anytime from like 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. or later in the day, anytime like 4:30 p.m. on before sunset. This just gives you, the light's gonna be lower in the sky, so you're not gonna get crazy shadows on the face. It's just gonna be a lot more flattering on the model. I do use an app called Sunseeker, so when I'm out, when figuring out where I'm gonna shoot, what time of day I wanna shoot, this app will show you exactly where the sun will be in the sky. Mistake number three is not positioning the model's head or body in the right direction. When you're shooting in any kind of natural light, there's always a direction that's gonna be best for shooting depending on where the light is. So right here, our sun is up here. If she was standing right here just like this, it wouldn't be the most flattering position because the light's really harsh on this side, and on this side we've got nothing. So it's about tilting her head up towards the sun like I showed you before, making her body in the right position as well. You can also chisel someone's abs with the light depending on the direction they're facing. So I'll show you guys a little bit of that here. All right, Riley, so we're gonna show them some bad lighting conditions to start. So right now, like I said, it's about 3:45. And if you can see, Riley's nose is lit up, but her eyes are not in the sun. There's some really unflattering light on her face. It's just not the ideal lighting.
Working every day, I'm stressed out, 24/7, babe. No timeouts.
But if we turn her this way, yeah, and tilt your chin up just a little, yeah, beautiful. Throw this hair back for me. A little bit more, yep, perfect. And then see, we get that beautiful light on her face. And the more she tilts her head down here, if you tilt your head down, Riley, we get shadows under her nose that aren't very favorable, but when you turn it up again, all of those go away and it looks really, really beautiful.
I need a summer breeze, some fresh air to put my mind at ease.
Another thing that I like to do with this lighting is backlit because we don't get any crazy shadows on her face. Beautiful. And she's nice and glowy from behind. The water is really crystally looking. She's got this nice rock behind her. Backlighting images this time of day is a really good technique to avoid any kind of harsh light on her face that's very unflattering.
Me and you go to our favorite tree. Are you ready now? We jump on a plane now.
So here we are going to chisel her abs with this light. The sun, again, is right up to my right up here. And because it's darker over here, it's creating shadows on that side of her body. Where on this side it's lit up, so it's really defining anywhere that she has any muscle, like on her abs. It looks really nice. And then tilt your head up a little more. Yeah, gorgeous. Maybe a hand up in the hair. Beautiful.
Feeling the sun on my face in Hawaii.
Mistake number 4 is shooting in JPEG and shooting too bright. These are going to go hand in hand because when you shoot in JPEG, you lose a lot of information and you're unable to recover it. You're unable to color correct properly. The colors when you go onto Lightroom or however you color grade your images, there's just not as much information to pull from, so you're not able to adjust as much. And hand in hand with that is the blown out highlights. If you shoot your images too bright, the highlights will be overexposed and you cannot recover those. Even when you shoot in RAW sometimes, you can't recover those if they're too blown out. So I recommend shooting darker than you need to and also shooting in RAW so that you have full control in post-production.
So here are 2 images. One is shot in JPEG and the other is shot in RAW. They're both slightly overexposed and I color corrected them just to show you guys how much detail that you can actually recover if you stick to shooting in RAW.
Mistake number 5 is using the wrong gear. What I mean by that, you don't have to have the most expensive gear, but you want to make sure that you're using the right focal length of your lens to achieve the desired results of the image you're looking to do. Like if you're shooting a portrait, you don't want to go any wider than 50mm. And if you're shooting a full body and you want the legs to look super long, you might want to shoot at a wider angle, like a 28mm. So I'm just going to show you guys a few examples of that. All right, so I'm going to show you guys a few different focal lengths on my 28-70 lens. I'm just going to shoot some portraits and show you what it looks like, why you don't want to shoot portraits at 28mm. Okay, so here's a portrait at 28mm. We're backlighting it. In order to get it a portrait, I'm going to have to get pretty close to her. There's some sun flare. Beautiful. If you notice in these, her nose is really big. It's closer to the camera. I know you love hearing that.
Running from a ghost town where we never feel high, just low. We won't ever come down. We won't ever come down low.
Now I'll go to 50mm. That's probably the widest that you want to shoot a portrait, and I'll show you guys how I would do something like that. So I'd probably back up just a little bit. Yes, beautiful. Because if I were to get closer with the 50mm, you can see it's still, there's a little bit of distortion there. It's a little bit nicer here. Yeah, that's beautiful.
I've done this before, you fall. I won't catch you, don't know I'm stalling. Cause you love to have them all crying.
And then ideally what I would shoot a portrait on if I'm using this lens here would be 70mm. So I'm going to show you guys what that looks like now. This is a portrait of 70mm. Beautiful, Riley. This is the ideal focal length on this lens for portraits. Beautiful. Now I'm going to show you guys my 100mm prime lens. I love shooting portraits and beauty on this lens. This focal length works really well for that, so I just wanted to show you guys the difference between the other lens and this one. Mistake number 6 is don't overcomplicate things. A lot of people will have this idea of what they want to do. They'll go to a location, they'll have so many props, so many things going on, the background's busy, there's people everywhere. Keep it simple. Keeping it simple is the best way to get a good image. When you're first learning, you just need a nice clean background with not too much going on, and you also want to keep an eye on your horizon lines. You want to keep them somewhat level. You can always adjust that in post, but if it's too crazy, you'll end up cropping your image how you don't want to crop it. So keeping everything simple, making sure there's nothing cutting into the model from behind as far as the background goes. Mistake number 7 is not properly communicating with your model. I like to spend some time with the model beforehand, just talking, asking about her day, how's everything going, kind of build a little bit of rapport so that she feels a little more comfortable shooting with you. And it's also while you're shooting, you want to communicate with them, tell them what you're seeing in the frame because they don't know what you're seeing, all they know is what usually works for them. So most models, especially if they're experienced, will just keep moving, but it's nice to give them a little bit of direction and tell them you know, what your frame looks like if you don't have their legs in it, or if you do have their legs in it so they know to point their toes, things like that. Number 8 is over editing. With editing, I think less is more, especially nowadays. Everyone's kind of trying to go more towards the natural vibe with editing. You don't want to over smooth the skin, you don't want to over sharpen the eyes or over lighten the eyes, and you also just want your colors to look somewhat natural. I think everybody has their own different perspective when it comes to coloring their images, but for me, I like to keep it somewhat natural, make it pop. I just want it to be flattering and beautiful on the model. But again, you can get a little bit creative with the colors. You don't want it to look like everyone else's work. It's just important to not go overboard. Number 9 is not shooting from different angles or perspectives and not showing enough variety in your images. When you're shooting, you want to try different things so all the images don't end up looking the same. Either get from a low angle and shoot up at the model, or stand up high on something like one of these rocks and shoot down while she's laying on the sand. Also showing variety, so different detail shots, different crops of like maybe her body. If you're shooting for a swim company, it might be a detail shot of the bottoms or the top. Number 10 is not composing your images properly. A few good rules to stick to would be either centering your model in the center of the frame or putting them on what's called the rule of thirds. The rule of thirds, if you were to break the image into 3 parts, you would want to put it on that axis. Most cameras have a grid that you can turn on and it will show you exactly where the third is, so you know exactly where to place your model for the rule of thirds. I usually shoot composed vertically because of Instagram. I know a lot of people hate this. Every once in a while it's nice to throw in a horizontal shot as well, but the same rules apply either way that you shoot. And it's important to also keep in mind what you're shooting for, because if you're cropping the image for Instagram or for print or something, you want to make sure that you're leaving enough space and not shooting too tight. So that's it, guys. 10 mistakes beginner photographers usually make. If you guys think I missed something, let me know down in the comments below. But again, if you're not making mistakes, you're not learning. So keep trying different things. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to do different things. A lot of times you learn as you go anyways, and you learn by making these mistakes. So I hope this helped. Make sure you guys check out Riley once again. She is linked down in the description below. And make sure you check out my amazing videographer, Thomas Copeland Jr. He's also linked down in the description below. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell button so you don't miss any of my future uploads. I'll see you guys next time.